My main focus point today concerns this question. How much money do Americans think they need to retire? And so the core of this goes to a couple of things. One is, what is the expectation? But the other is also, what is the reality? And so let's start with what the expectation is. Now, Americans believe that $1.26 million is what they need to retire comfortably. Now, that's down about $200,000 from last year's estimate. But how does that bear out in reality with where most people are? Well, the reality is that one in four, 25% of Americans with retirement savings have saved only 1 year or less than their current income. A huge gap between where they are now and where they expect to need to be or where they should be. Now, Fidelity gives some recommendations, and this isn't always a perfect rule, but generally speaking, Fidelity says that you need about 10 times your annual salary by the age of 67 in order to be able to retire comfortably. And you should probably also have about 1 times your annual salary by the age of 30. Now, for about half of Americans, they think that regardless of what they have, that they're going to outlive those savings. And so that adds another layer of not just psychological, but financial insecurity. How does it break down by generation? Well, Gen X, so those who are 45 to 60, on average, about half of Gen X have saved no more than 3 times their income, far short of what the benchmark suggests. Most Gen Xers now expect they will need to actually continue to work into retirement, far past retirement age, in order to continue to fund their lifestyles. Interestingly enough, even though that's the case, on average, people are reporting that they believe they will be retiring sooner, despite the fact that they actually don't have the savings to do so. Now, millennials have fallen more into the category of Gen Xers in that they aren't as prepared for their retirement. So Gen Z, who is nowhere near retirement, right? We're looking at people under the age of 29. I think 18 to 29 is about where Gen Z is. What do they think? Well, over 60% of Gen Zers believe they will be financially ready for retirement earlier than their traditional retirement age. And this puzzle becomes very complicated because the two most uncertain things about retirement are how much money you're going to need to spend, what your consumption is going to look like. But then there's also the other piece of the puzzle. How long are you going to live? And so a lot of this advice traditionally comes from lower expected lifespans. And so as people get healthier, as medicine becomes better, as people live longer, the gap between what people have saved and what they need to save is only growing. Add in variables like increased cost of living, like inflation, like the retirement age, you can see how something like this can become daunting. But regardless, it's not always going to be the case for everybody that they're exactly where they need to be. The key is the best time to start saving is today.